Hey, Andreiser.
What?
This is the garage tour of 2015.
Great.
You got enough wine?
I'll have to get more if this don't last.
So, the garage was built after the house. Let's start there.
Yes, the house was built. We moved in January of 1970.
Okay.
January 25th, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It was so cold here that winter that we realized we were going to build a garage when we got the money.
Mm-hmm.
And we realized we'd borrow the money after the first winter. So we went to my mother, who had offered to match whatever we had when we bought the house. And
Mm-hmm.
at the time, she didn't do anything like that, so we went to her and borrowed money to build this garage.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, I believe it was $9,500.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah.
That's a lot of money. I mean, it's a big garage, but...
Garage is 28 feet deep and 36 feet wide.
Okay.
And it's heated. It used to be air conditioned, even though the house wasn't at the time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I had a 2.5 ton window unit here.
Hmm.
And the very first time when winter came, the next time, I didn't have a garage door on the front, but I had my boat and 4 cars in here.
I remember the boat was here because there was no door here
Right.
originally.
There was no door there. That was a later thing.
Yeah. Why wasn't there a door here? What were you thinking?
Well, originally there wasn't going to be nothing here. The ground dropped off right
Uh-huh.
here, so we couldn't build any more on it unless we filled the ground in.
Uh-huh. Okay. So that was the summer of 70 you built it?
Yes.
Okay.
Fred Burgle and Wolfgang and myself did all the carpenter work.
Really?
Georgia Grasser's husband, Joe, I can't remember his last name, a Dago name, he did the siding for me
Okay.
and showed me, and I helped him do it, learn how to do siding. And the gutters, we had somebody else do them twice. And the water runs over, so.
Hmm. So the carpentry work, like all these 2x6s, you did
Yes.
those? I
Yeah.
didn't realize that.
Yeah, everything we did here, this was a stick-built garage
Yeah.
on site. And every sheet of plywood, I lifted up to the guys when they put them up there.
Uh-huh.
And then I had a nail gun, a framing nail gun, and I nailed all of the plywood on there, but they had to mark me a line because they knew that when I was trying to go down the 2x6s that
Uh-huh.
they says you're missing more than you're hitting.
From the bottom, they could see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then they wherever there was wood, they put a line on the wood,
Uh-huh.
so I could do it.
Funny. So what about the walls? Because the walls are obviously plywood.
The walls are
Are
2x4.
Are they insulated?
They're insulated,
Nice.
and 2x4 walls, and on 16-foot centers.
Uh-huh.
And the same with the roof, is 2x4s and 2x6s
Yep.
on 16-foot centers.
Yeah, 16-inch.
16-inch centers.
That's
I'm sorry.
it's really going to be saggy if
Yeah.
it's 16 foot. So let's start with this cabinet. Actually, there's the breakers that have been there forever. Oops. And then all the stuff back here. Actually, there's your old golf clubs. You
Yeah.
have a story about the golf clubs?
Yes, those were my dad's.
Yeah.
And they had wooden shafts on it, and I'm pretty sure the bag is still there. Wait a minute, let me help you out here a little bit. Because I know you don't have a good enough light there.
Right.
But now you can see what a good set of golf clubs
That
there
was-
are. Most of them had wooden shafts,
Uh-huh.
and then I added a few extra really nice ones that I found somewhere.
Yeah.
But the bag is original.
The bag is not new.
No.
All right. So this cabinet.
This cabinet, if you look at it, it does not have any nails in it.
Really?
It is all pegged and glued together. If you look up here, you can see right here, there's a little gap there,
Yeah.
and there's a peg in there, and there's a peg in this coming down, and you can actually lift the whole top of this cabinet off.
Wow.
And the same with the bottom, it's right down here.
Mm-hmm.
And there was no nails. Some of the parts now have the glue has come off.
Yeah.
If you look,
Okay.
but everything in it. The only nails were what held the shelf brackets on.
Mm-hmm. So who made it?
I don't know. It was in my dad's basement in his workshop.
Okay. So he didn't necessarily make it.
No, he did not make it.
Okay, he did not make it.
No, I don't know where he got it. But I don't even know what kind of wood it is. Looks like walnut from here. I bet you if you strip it down, it would probably be a nice piece of furniture.
Yeah. It's
Probably worth more than a house. And
was it always here in this spot, or did we have it somewhere else in the house?
no, it was always here.
Okay. Turn off the noisemaker.
This here is a 22 Magnum rifle. I usually always keep it here. It is always loaded just in case a coyote comes
Yep.
to attack one of our dogs.
Yep.
And normally there's a 9mm pistol in there, but right now it's in the gun cabinet. It's not in there. And if you look in
Wow.
here,
This Vaseline we've had since we were kids.
yeah, that Vaseline I used for rebuilding transmissions back in 1970. Screws, nuts and bolts. The containers, this is the kind of container my father had everything in, which are little jars of something. And you can see everything was in a jar.
Yep.
Macaroni
Kraft
and
dinner.
cheese. Macaroni and cheese, 9 minutes.
It came in a glass jar. Let's see if I can get any more of these. I love those boxes. I think they're so neat. Heinz 57.
Heinz 57 varieties.
Square
nuts.
nuts. Why does square nuts go out?
Because the other ones you could get a socket on.
Oh. Bristol 3/16. These are all dowel pins. So these are all the jars, because I know there's a bunch of jars, and those are all from him.
Yeah, all the jars here were from my dad, yeah.
Oops.
And this cabinet was in his basement,
Yeah.
in his basement workshop.
And he was all woodworking, or he did metalwork too, or what?
He was a tool and die maker by trade, but he mainly all of his stuff here was woodworking stuff.
Yeah. All the home stuff. Yeah, I remember so many of these
Yeah,
bottles. And,
I think it was cough syrup or something came in them things.
yeah.
But all the red cabinets, the red drawers here that are all here, as you're looking at them, they were all FedEx stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We had gotten in a trailer to organize our parts room, and
Nice fender washers.
Yeah,
They're just in oil?
had washers. He kept them in oil so they didn't rust.
Oh. I gotta do that. The best foods. Dinner time?
No,
Oh.
he didn't.
Anyway, all of these red boxes that are in here came from FedEx, and after we got our inventory done, then they cut our inventory and said just throw them away.
Ha!
So I did.
So I think you gave me about 20 of them, and
Yeah.
you've got another 100 or something.
I don't know. I know I got at least 20 of them in Florida plus these.
All right. Up here, there's some CB stuff. There's a tackle box.
Tackle box is John Brado's fishing tackle. CBs, there's 2 CBs there.
Yep.
A little bitty television, all that analog stuff that don't work no more.
Right.
A TV antenna that looks like a little wing.
Yeah.
That's up there.
Okay.
Pretty snazzy.
Yep.
All right, cabinets.
Yeah.
I don't know where the hell we got these. This is Mom's gardening cabinet.
I feel like it's another one we've had forever.
We've had it for as long as I can remember. I think these 3 cabinets, I think these came from my dad's basement, and these were his gardening cabinets.
Okay.
because he had gardening cabinets in the basement.
Mm-hmm.
And we just progressed to making them ours.
Yep. And same with that one.
Yeah, they're all the same. Paint is in that one. This is bigger tools were in there.
Mm-hmm.
I know. Of course, the bigger tools now are keeping the doors from closing. One thing about this garage is every action has a reaction, and usually whatever action you do, you have to stop the reaction to complete what you started.
Mm-hmm.
Because something falls down or something's in the way, or, oh, gee, I want that thing in behind there, and then you move 3 or 4 things out of the way in order to get it.
Mm-hmm. Hey, where do you go to take fire extinguishers to get recharged, or do you just throw them away?
Nowadays, I don't know. I used to use a guy who went out of business.
I just realized I have a couple that say they were recharged in 2002 or something.
Depending on what kind they are, some are worth redoing, some are worth throwing away. If
Okay.
it's a kiddie, throw it away.
Okay.
I don't know what these are, General or something. Can't remember. Yeah. Detroit. Yeah, the General Detroit Corp. Those were refillable, but they all have a date code on them that if you have to refill them, a lot of them have to be pressure tested, and for what it costs to pressure test, you can usually buy a new one.
Okay.
Also, they had an agreement on, if you get to the Florida house, and we do this, they had an agreement that on the pull-around airplane
Mhm.
ones, if they went out of date, you couldn't do nothing with them, you had to throw them away. And we
Oh.
had one brand new one that one of our rampites ran over it with a tug and broke the wheels off of it. And they had to throw it away because it broke off the bracket on the wheel and they wouldn't allow me to weld it. So I welded it and brought it to Florida.
Perfect.
Um,
So this is your toolbox.
That's my toolbox. Replaced the one that I had for the first 40 years of being a mechanic, and this was mine for about the last 10 years.
Uh-huh.
And mostly Snap-on stuff in there, Snap-on or Mac. In the later years, I started buying cheap brand like Husky or I just couldn't see spending $80, $90 for one lousy wrench.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Where's this little parts washer from?
That's John Miyazaki gave me that.
Oh,
He had it in his basement.
that's nice. It's really handy.
It is really handy. This was a typical Harbor Freight tool.
Mm-hmm.
Worked fine for the first year or something, and then when you really needed to use it, it seized up and the bearings went bad. And had to take it apart and put new bearings in. I talked to Fred last week, and he was doing the same with his.
Really?
Yeah.
I have random orbital sander
Mhm.
that I was using this weekend, or earlier this week, that the bearings went bad on.
Harbor Freight too, or no?
No, well, it's Rigid is the brand.
Yeah. Rigid. I'd never buy another piece of Rigid anything.
Yeah.
They have a lifetime guarantee on all their tools, providing you send in for it within 90 days of the day you buy it,
Mm-hmm.
and send them proof of purchase and the copy of the receipt, and I did all of that. And they says, no, you have to send a copy of the box. You have to send a part of the box that was in there. And I says, well, I threw the box away. Well, then too bad.
Yeah.
It was 90 or 30 days. So I would never buy another Rigid anything.
Yeah.
This actually happens to be the last Rigid tool I bought.
I'm looking at Bosch.
Is that? No. Is it?
The bag is Bosch.
Oh, never mind. This is a Bosch orbital sander.
Oh, does that work okay?
Yes.
Good.
The last Rigid tool is over in that box.
All right, so what's back there?
Okay, that is a generator that came out of Dean Steele's camper.
Oh, yeah.
And this was another FedEx deal that we could not repair. These are stainless steel gas tanks,
Oh.
15-gallon gas tanks for tugs.
Uh-huh.
FedEx said you can't weld a gas tank.
Right.
So I brought them home to scrap them out as stainless steel
Sure. And then weld them
and
to make a
welded them
gas
up
tank.
and made them into gas tanks again.
Right.
I have that one there, and I have 3 more there, and I think I gave 2 of them away to people.
All right.
But
Well,
those 3 that are there have to be repaired.
so, and that's 15-gallon tank is for the
It
generator.
was for the generator, and the generator would run 24 hours on 15 gallons.
Okay. And how many amps are
It was a 50 amp
nice?
generator, but it was 110 only.
Uh-huh.
It had 2 phases in it, and they did not connect to make 220.
Huh.
And I guess that's what they did in campers.
What's the? But you put another plug on that black.
Well,
plug.
that plug was to plug the house into.
Oh, okay. So it's just a 50 amp 110
It's a
plug.
50 amp 110 plug, but I plugged the house into it.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually is 2 25 amp lines, but you can't cross them into to make it 220.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of stupid.
Okay. So this is a Media Blaster.
Media Blaster was, I got that from Tom Hall, but not Tom T. Hall, the singer.
He doesn't like beer.
No, he did like beer. That little saying about Tom, he used to work for American Airlines, and then he worked for AMR down at Midway Airport. And on Fridays, the local bar by Midway Airport had, I think it was $1 pitchers of beer.
Wow.
So him and 3 of his friends would go there, and they'd each buy a pitcher, and then the waitress would want to bring him a glass, and he says, "We got one." And Tom also, one of the things he also did was he would get out all the beer bottles that he got in a case of beer, and he'd line them up, and then he'd show his wife, "Hun, look, these here are not the same height. Some are lower and some are higher. I think they're starting to go bad. I better drink them all up." Tom died of saliva gland cancer.
Ooh.
He worked with us for, I'm going to say probably about 6 years, maybe 7. And it was funny because FedEx had hired him, and during his physical, they noticed a lump on the side of his neck, and they found it was cancer, and FedEx kept him, paid for all the bills and everything of his hospital and everything, and they kept him employed even though he had went through chemo and
Wow.
surgery and everything. But I think it took about 6 or 7 years before cancer won.
Wow.
And
All right. There's a cabinet under there.
okay, that cabinet under there
What's in it?
has mostly my transmission tools and engine rebuilding stuff.
Okay.
There's a cylinder ridge remover for taking out when the top of the cylinder, the rings actually wear a groove up to as high as they go.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it builds up a ridge, so when you rebuild an engine, you have to cut that ridge off. And so there's one of them in there. There's a couple of hones in there. There's trying to think what else is on. There's bushings, drivers in there for replacing cam bearings and all of that kind of stuff.
Wow.
Mainly that was just strictly engine rebuilding stuff, which
Okay.
I have not done in 35 years.
And was that wasn't below the other red toolbox?
No,
Where was that before? Was it always there?
I'm trying to think who I got that from.
'Cause I don't remember that toolbox.
Somebody gave it to me when they got a new toolbox.
Okay.
And it might have been a FedEx guy, and it might have been one of the guys in one of the dealers I worked at.
Okay. So it came much later.
Yeah. And the welder,
The blue one?
the blue welder, while I was working for FedEx, I took courses on welding to be a certified welder.
Mm-hmm.
And my instructor, when I told him I was looking for a TIG machine,
Mm-hmm.
he says, "Well, I got this guy who has a welding machine repair shop, and I'm pretty sure I paid $1,500 for that thing. And the same equivalent, brand new, was about $5,000.
Wow.
And if you read the numbers on it, if you get into the high number of AC, it'll go up to 405 amps AC. DC 315 amps. And with the pulsar over on the left, the Airco pulsar, you can get it down to about 1.5 amps on, and you can weld very thin stuff like beer cans. And somewhere in under here I had the beer cans, but I don't see them no more.
So I'm just going to pull out random stuff. This
That
was.
is a dustpan my father made.
I was going to say that's from. I remember it was in the basement forever.
Yep. That was my dad's dustpan from his workshop.
And then this.
Was a crock pot.
No,
Oh, the chair
the chair.
was also. No, wait, no.
Because the chair
The chair
was in the
came.
basement, and it was also over here for a while.
The chair came from one of the car dealers I worked at.
So 60s or 70s.
In the 60s. And it was the Lincoln Mercury dealer called Automobile Sales on Cicero and George Street. And when they closed that shop, they were throwing this stuff out, so I had to keep it.
Yeah.
Now this workbench,
Yeah. Where's the workbench? from?
workbench I made,
Probably 10 years ago.
no, maybe more, maybe 20 years ago.
Really? Oh wow.
The funny thing about the workbench is the top is stainless steel.
Yeah.
Okay. And what this piece was the inside of a Bowser tanker, a portable 500-gallon fuel tanker that we used to haul around, and it had a little Briggs & Stratton motor and a pump on it, and we'd fuel our equipment with it. We'd pull it around the airport with the tug. Well, typical FedEx, all right, it's a fuel tank, you can't weld it, all right? So we hired a contractor to come in and cut it up. And he was able to keep all the walls, but this was the baffle that had fallen off. And I grabbed that before he was able to take that.
Before he figured it out.
Yeah.
What the heck?
And the tubing I got from that contractor, he also had made fences and all kinds of other stuff, and this was some fence stuff that he had. So I got the tubing from that, and I welded the frame up together.
Where's this fridge from?
This fridge came from ThoughtWorks.com.
That's right.
So,
1998.
is that when it was there?
No. 2008. Sorry.
2008.
2008. ThoughtWorks moved out of. Wait, was it 08? 06. No, it was the end of 06. We moved out of 651 West Washington.
Okay, the little picture up there you see in the wreath,
Yeah.
that is me flying the ultralight.
The ultralight. There
which
it is.
over there.
Yep.